Hello everybody, Monica Bodierski here, artist and author of the Shadowland Tarot deck and book and the House of Shadows Lenormand, which, yes, I know I've been saying this for so many videos, thank you, and it's almost sold out. Well, okay, let's just go for redundancy here. Thank you. And it is now sold out. If you missed an opportunity to purchase the 4th edition, please don't despair. I am taking pre-orders for the 5th edition, and if you don't wish to place a pre-order, you can always email me and just request to be on a wait list for when the deck comes out. I can't say it's going to come out right away because goodness knows as we go into the season, October season of the witch, I am always swamped. However, I am working on 6 new pieces of artwork for the 5th edition, and it should be an interesting one. I hope that it's finished and printed and ready to get out there for no later than January 1st. December is usually a washout for me, and I don't know if November's quite enough time, but I will do my best to get it out there. Thank you again for the response. It was overwhelming, and I've gotten so many questions, lots more videos, lots more questions answered. I want to answer a question very quickly that somebody asked me recently. Why Shadowland? And not just for the tarot, but I call the channel that. Obviously the House of Shadows, shadows, more shadows, I live in shadows. I think because those are the things just out of our reach that we can't quite see, but we're interested in. We like things that are mysterious, that captivate us because they're not quite obvious, and they're the things that often get us to look at them or look completely away. You may be in one camp or the other. I suppose being a little bit of a goth myself, yes, did I mention I used to play in a band a long time ago? Wear lots of black lipstick. Lots of black clothing. Okay, the black clothing hasn't changed much, but there are pops of color on me a little bit. Do I still play music? Not so much. I tend to channel all of my energy into visual arts. I do like rhythm instruments and drumming now and then, but what was my rambly point here? Shadows. I love shadows. I love things mysterious and ooky. Wait a minute, that's an Addams Family song. I love the Addams Family. I loved all of those things because if you live in my spooky headspace, which was often seeing things and perhaps dreaming things or knowing things that people found uncomfortable, other than just being a little perceptive, we're talking about very, very intuitive. Cartoons and things that kept it light were so enjoyable to me because they took the fear factor out of the way I was experiencing a lot of spiritual things that many parents were busy to address other than, oh, she's creative. Even though this gift runs through many generations of the family, there's also that teeny bit of, oh goodness, please, not her too, because it hasn't always been met with a great deal of applause. We'll just say in old world Europe and in smaller places, you know, it was just best to assimilate to a majority religion and way of being, not just sort of know things that perhaps others didn't. That could often be considered as dangerous power to have. Anyway, this is why I just love shadows, and it's why I keep my artwork fairly lighthearted. There's certainly an undercurrent there of disturbia, but to me that is life, you know, especially if you look at things with the rather weird sense of humor I do. So, I hope that answers your question, and let's move on to this week. Do I have other things I need to announce? Yes, of course. The bat bags you've been asking about, they're going to be back in stock shortly. They are handmade, one of a kind, and in small batches, but I hear I will be getting 30 new bags within a week or two. So if you missed those, which sold out much quicker than the actual decks, You can also check back and maybe purchase one of those if you like. Okay, let's move on to another question. I have so many questions I get asked, and please keep them coming. I find that they answer a whole whack of people similar questions, and most go, thanks, I was wondering that anyway. So yes and no questions, I sort of touched on this before in other videos, but why I generally steer away from questions that are yes or no. It isn't just ambiguity, because there are so many symbols on tarot cards, and Lenormand cards may be a bit more straightforward, but not necessarily. They may also be quite ambiguous. That's not to say, however, that just because you're saying, if I choose one path or the other, that may not also be ambiguous, depending on how long you've been reading cards and the deck you're using, your overall awareness, and ability to read what you're looking at and pose a question. That is so much. So what do you do? Well, let's try a simple demo here, and I'd like you all to try this as well, because you may get different results. And it's not to say yes and no questions don't work sometimes. I think the real reason I steer clear of them is because when I'm reading professionally for clients, they genuinely expect more than yeah, nope. And a single card doesn't always indicate why. It may give you a hint, but not to the same extent as asking an open-ended question would with two separate divergent paths of, well, let's just jump in. Okay, so let's get our decks and let me ask a simple question. Oh gosh, see, I never ask things I really want to know because, well, that would just be sharing far too much, right? I'm trying to ask a question maybe that people would ask. Okay, how about a job? That's fairly common. Should I take this job, yes or no? Let me grab a card here. And I have the Knight of Pentacles. Yes or no? You might say yes if you see this little guy with a bag of money on a snail, but other people might say no because it's a snail. That is way too slow. It depends how you read that. The pentacles are about earth and feeling secure and grounded, so maybe it's about yes because it'll make you feel secure. It's also potentially, well, the knight is a seeker or adventurer, so perhaps this will be kind of an interesting adventure for you to pursue this job. So I guess you could say yes. All right. Let's see. I'm going to take two other cards. What will happen if I take the job? I got the Eight of Pentacles here. If I take this job, it looks to me like I'm going to have a lot of skill building. So if I was expecting to do something else in the job other than learning how to do the job or the skills, if that was not my main focus, if my main focus was quick cash, prestige without work, I would say, let me think twice about this job, because it's kind of giving me an insight into specifically what the job is offering. Okay, if I say, what happens if I don't take the job? All right. Oh, yes. The Four of Wands. The Four of Wands. Those two happy spiders, in front of their little fairy tale home. They look pretty snug. They look pretty happy and secure. That seems pretty nice. Wands are about energy. And that's if I don't take the job. Well, I guess then it would tell me also, this is what I would pass on to a client. Well, if you don't take the job, you're going to spend more time with your partner and keep your energies a little closer to home. Is that something that you would like? If you hadn't thought of that before, maybe you would say, oh, Okay, well, that's not so bad. You see, to me, that's just a more informed decision. Can you keep pulling cards? Oh gosh, please don't. We've gone through this before. Peeling off the other, 75 is not the answer. It will add to your confusion. Sit with that, because the two options here, they came up as different. Pentacles talk about security in a way in skill building. Wands talk about the energy of being at home and with a partner. Sit with that for a moment. You can look at the numbers as well. 4 is about stability. 8 is more about accomplishment. Just a better choice, I guess, if you have more things to say. Now, again, I know a lot of people will be able to give you a simple yes or no with this, and maybe even read into why. But, 2 cards. Come on. The choices seem a little better. All right? So that was a pretty simple way to look at yes and no. I think open-ended questions always keep you in a space of being well-informed, making better critical choices based on more information. And you have to understand, too, that you're not a passive subject when reading cards, at least not how I see them. I see you as very empowered and capable and active, and you can change your fate. Sometimes when we sit back and say, will this, what will happen if I take this job? What will, should I take it, yes or no? Rather, that's going to cut out you being active in this. It's almost like these things are set in stone and it's all laid out for you and there's nothing else to do. Whereas asking about your choices and your paths are a much more empowering space for me, and a reminder that you have so many choices and you have the ability to take what you want in your life to a certain extent, of course, other than those other things that just occur to us. But when we're making these kind of choices that we do have control over, and we maybe don't think we do, it'll help us decide just that. Why do we feel that we don't have control? Is that a fact? Are we in a position where we really cannot be fussy about taking a job no matter what? Perhaps. Then why ask the tarot cards? Take the job. If you have the luxury of even asking whether you should or shouldn't, seems to me that you are having enough choice in there to look a little more carefully at what you're choosing. Know that you do have a lot of say in your own future, and you get to weigh those choices a little bit more appropriately with 2 cards. Okay? Remember, not the whole deck. Try the 2 cards and compare it to your yes and no. What is the difference for you? You may be looking at this differently. As always, this is how I read, and I've been reading for a long time, but that doesn't mean it's the only way to read, and it certainly doesn't negate how you see things. Okay? Thank you once again for tuning in. I will try to remember to leave any pertinent information and links below. Comment, share what happened when you tried this out, and stay tuned for the next video. In the meantime, have a wonderful week. The air here is fresh and wonderful. Our leaves are just starting to turn color a teensy-weensy bit, and I'm loving this season so much. So have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.